So, we've got from me asking where the premium collection reveals are to suddenly there being a lot of them and me not having had time to really sit down and talk about them. So let's do that today. Welcome folks, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at all of the so far revealed premium collection or P-Clan collection reveals. We still have another week to go and I think one more content creator reveal which should be Kai's. So there's still a little bit left to go, it's still a few more clans, but the big bulk of them has already been revealed. I myself revealed the DP ones, so I'm not going to talk about the DP one in this video because already, I've revealed it. I talked about my thoughts in that video too. I personally love the two new cards. They're amazing. They're pretty nuts. The G-Guard is insane, so that's very good. But I wanted to really sit down and talk about all the other reveals that we've had, whether it was Japanese ones or the content creator ones, and just to kind of summarize it for the people that haven't kept up as much, and also the people that want to know my thoughts on these cards as well. So we backtrack all the way to last week where we started the reveals with Shadows. Now, for this video, if you want to tab out, enjoy your TFT, your League of Legends, Valorant, whatever, and just listen as I talk. I'm also going to be just popping up cards here on the side. This is definitely going to be, just a chill video discussing cards. So if you want to just have me on in the background, that's a-okay. So that's all good. Part of the reason why I don't have as much time to like do a lot of editing for videos or just post videos in general right now is because I'm moving next week. So things are very busy right now and I'm trying to just like squeeze in the video too when I can. So yeah, enjoy just having me on in the background if you want to. If not, there'll be just card pop-ups here. So starting off, we had Shadows on day one, and Shadows, honestly, I'm quite a big fan. I'll just move along here to the side so we can have the cards right here. So the stride that we got is Dark Knight Krom Kul. It's Kuruwaha in Japanese. We're going to call him Kuruwaha. So this is basically a better Spectral Blaster Diablo. So he allows you to retire 2 of your own rears, and then your opponent has to choose 3 of their rears and retire them. If they retire less than 3, so they can, if they for some reason retire 1 or 2, but basically if they say like, no, I won't, then, or if they don't have enough, then he gets plus 10k, and the skill that at the end of the battle that he attacked, you can count -1, retire 2 of your rears to stand him. So he's basically a cheaper version of Spectral Blaster Diablo from the past, and it's pretty good. I mean, it literally only costs 1 CB for the restand, plus the 2 retires. You can still run stuff like old Davids, I guess, and whatnot, like cards like the old Stand Trigger that count as 2 and retire to make the cost even lower, because basically retiring 4 of your own rears over the course of 1 turn is quite a lot, even with how much Shadows plus, but it is a pretty good stride that I think you probably run as like a 1 of in your G-Zone for the same logic that you ran Spectral Blaster Diablo. Like, you just need to have an out to certain matchups, and especially in the Gridora matchup where you're not allowed to Superior Call and things like that, this is a good stride to go into, because this at least lets you get a restand, and you get to take out some of the annoying stuff in the back row that is still lingering on the Mega Colony side. So I think for that reason this card will be pretty good. The G-Guard on the other hand, so this is the Dark Dragon Deep Griever Dragon. So yes, of course, dragons, that's my favorite part of premium. This G-Guard is insane. Like, this is also the beginning of, oh my god, stop printing freaking PG G-Guards, guys. He says when you guard with him, you can choose up to 5 grade 1s from your drop zone and put them on the bottom of your deck, and for each one you put for this effect, he gets plus 5k shield until the end of battle. So up to plus 25k shield, so 40k shield is already pretty huge. And if 4 cards were put, you can count almost 1 and give one of your units the ability to not be hit until end of battle. So finally, Linka is starting to look a little worse because they printed a PG G-Guard, so a G-Guard that can actually nullify an attack without the Sentinel keyword being written on it. So the only thing that can blow past this in DP is Daikaiser Leon, so that's one thing. Are we going to go back to Daikaiser in Premium? Perhaps, maybe, right? But it's a really good G-Guard. Like, this is really good, especially in V Luard. So if you run a V Luard in Premium, this is just amazing because you get to be very aggressive with your Superior Calls and then, like, not be afraid of losing them and just get them all back into the deck with this guy. So very good. Like, CB1 for such a huge shield and, like, recycle and PG effect is pretty good. And you don't even need to CB1 until you want to activate the PG effect. So you can recycle, get big shield for free, which is pretty insane. And then the same day we had Narakami, and this to me was immediately like amazing. So Conquering Supreme Dragon, Exterminate Dragon, like again, Dragon. When you stride it, Soul Blast 1 and draw 1 for every empty front row rearguard circle in your opponent's side. Yeah. And then, once per turn, count plus 1 for each of your opponent's empty front row rearguard circles. All your front row units get plus 10k until end of turn. Yeah. So if you were being a good player and playing around Stunverse to not lose your board and your hand, this guy comes in swinging and goes like, hey, so you mind if I just like draw 2 for Soul Blast and then give plus 20k to my front row? Yeah? Okay, cool. Playing against an Axel deck, it's only gonna get worse. Like, dude, this card literally just punishes you for playing against Stunverse, and it's the whole like kind of like Leonard Derek scenario that we had in Standard before, where you play around one thing, you get punished with the other, except in premium it's much more reliable because as long as you can stride, you can access the game plan. So against Narakami, you're screwed either way, which is something good. Like for Narakami, this is a, you finally have a play to make that is something that you can do when your opponent plays around Stunverse, and it's still going to be really strong. Like Soul Boss 1 to draw 2 already against any deck is really, really nice. Just keep in mind that it's when you stride it, so specifically, like, obviously if your opponent has a front row, you're probably going to just go into Stunverse and punish them, right? But this stride is really good, especially against Axle decks. Like, oh my god, like, and it just perfectly patches up a weakness of Narakami that it had, and if anything, like, overcompensates for it too. The G-Guard we have is Sky Guardian Supreme Dragon Counteract Dragon. Again, Dragon count number 3. When you guard with it, your opponent chooses up to 2 of their front row rear guards and binds them. If your opponent bound less than 2 units for this effect, he gets plus 10k shield, and if they bound less than 1 unit, gets another 10k shield. So it's an up to 35k shield, which is interesting because it kind of makes your opponent play some mind games, right? So if your opponent attacks with Vanguard first and you go into this, your opponent probably doesn't want to lose their front row, so they're going to choose to just give you, give the full shield. So then you have a 1 card 35k shield, which is a lot considering that you're usually ditching a heal guard for this, so you're converting 15 to 35, which is nice. But this becomes a lot less useful in the later battles, and it's a good scaling shield, but your opponent also has a say in it, so maybe they don't value their rears as much and they just go like, all right, well, you just dropped a 15, you got a 15 out of it, you want to add more to this? So the G-Guard is not as great as the Stride is, and is not as great as like the Shadow Paladin G-Guard in my opinion, but it's still a pretty good card. Then I basically had a list of clans that I was like, okay, if this clan gets a Yikes Stride or Yikes G-Guard, we're in a bit of trouble, and DI was one of them. But the DI reveal came and it was good, but not groundbreaking, which is good. So Emperor of the Underworld Volfalux is the new Stride, has a G-Zone skill at the end of the battle that your grade 3 Vanguard attack an opponent's grade 3 Raider Vanguard, so very specific timing here. If your Vanguard is a grade 3 and you have 13 or more cards in your soul, why did it ask for grade 3 twice? Okay. So if you have 13 more cards in your soul, count plus 1, discard 5, and stride this face down card as stand on your Vanguard circle. Yeah. Cool. And then when placed on Vanguard Circle, if you have 13 or less cards in deck, you choose up to 3 critical triggers from your soul and shuffle them into your deck. So he gives you a bit of payoff for striding him, which is nice. Get some crits back in the deck if you have a small deck size remaining, which is very nice. But the main thing about this is that it seems like it wants to make more V Premium DI decks more viable in Premium, which I appreciate, like Sharod suddenly seems pretty nice. Sharod now has a ability to just kind of play the V premium game with like going into some of the other good generic DI strides and then go into this for the extra attack. But most importantly, NLK gets a lot out of this because, you're already going like NLK into Barrow, but now you can also finish it with this, right? You can get another extra attack out of this and also recycle some cards from your soul back into your deck, which is pretty good. I think that's also very nice. So it's not a game-breaking stride, but it gives some extra to V-Prem decks as well as NLK. So I think it's decent. I think it's pretty alright. I think DI is not necessarily like getting like a 10 out of 10, but it's like a 7 out of 10, I would say. The G-Guard is pretty cool. Princess of Mayhem Nil Jarvis. When you guard with her, you can count -1, and for every 10 cards in your soul, you choose one of your opponent's units and it gets critical -1 until end of turn. So if you have a 30 soul Vanguard, you can give -3 crit spread out among your opponent's units. And the interesting thing is, it's like for every 10 you choose 1, so you can choose how to distribute it. But generally speaking, this is going to be really nice, like as a way to still use the heal guard effect after you've ridden grade 3, because basically you have this kind of like dynamic in Premium where there are some high crit Vanguard decks that can swing going first, ride up and swing, like DP for example, and you always have that out of like, okay, I can just heal guard here, -2 crit, I just take 1 damage and I still have CB to work with next turn. Now DI can do that also after riding up themselves, right? So they can basically stare down something with like a force 2 and just go like, nope, just 1 damage, like we chillin'. And I think that's pretty good. I think that kind of like extra dynamic to DI is very good because their G-Guard's already very nice. Like they have soul charging, they have resist, now they have this, like they got some good stuff in there. Then we had Great Nature after that, so this was Omniscience Dragon Caladrius. Caladrius says you can flip any G unit face up and then choose all rearguards in your front row until the turn they get plus 10k power, but at the end of the turn they retire. So, the standard Great Nature effect, but plus 10k just like that for free is already quite nice. And then when he attacks, count +1 and choose a rearguard with 30k or more power, stand it, and it gets the effect. When this unit attacks, when your opponent would call cards from their hand to Guardian Circle, they must call 3 or more at the same time. That's very good. This is, in my opinion, super good for Great Nature because you can basically have the Rhino on rear with the guard restrict, swing with him, then restand him with this guy, then he gives him the guard restrict, they swing with him again, and then Crayon Tiger, restand him, and then give him the skill again, and, you know, well, like, Crayon Tiger restands, and then the Rhino can attack again with the same Battle Door guard restrict, so the 3 or more at the same time, and then you have Big Belly rear that can also stand again, so it's like, you can attack with this guard restrict rear, like, up, like, you can restand it 3 times, basically, like, it's pretty insane. It's pretty insane what you can do, and I think this stride is really good. Like, the free power in particular is like, what? Just like that? Like, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. The G-Guard, here we go again. Omniscience Dragon Sevket Avil. When you guard with it, cast 1 and discard the top card of your deck and perform one of the effects depending on its type. If it's a normal unit, plus 20k shield until end of that battle, and if it's a trigger unit, choose one of your units and it cannot be hit until end of battle. It's just yet another one of those PGG guards, huh? I see how it is. I see how it is. Alright, alright. That aside, it is a really good G-Guard. Like, this G-Guard is amazing. With Isabel, you can use both effects, I'm pretty sure, so you get either the shield, you get both the shield and the PG effect, so it's, like, pretty sick. The one thing that's cool about some of these G-Guards is, like, the DI one, for example, earlier, is that you can, like, guard an attack of a rear, for example, with that, you know, with the 15k shield, but then give minus crit to something else to effectively guard it as well. And this card is not the same, so here you really have to, like, you know, get yourself the shield or the PG effect, or both, depending on the Vanguard you're on, but it's still an amazing stride. Like, just CB1 for that kind of effect is really, really good. Like, whichever one you get is gonna be amazing. Then we had people losing their minds at OTT when this OTT stride just kind of does everything that OTT has always been doing, so it's kind of like, okay, cool. So this is Dragon King of Good Fortunes. Very nice name, and I love the art. I really want someone to take this art, and you see, like, the little crystal here on top, like, on top of the staff. Can someone Photoshop a Grand Blue Fantasy Rainbow Gacha crystal into that crystal, because that's literally what this looks like to me. Anyway, skill, you can flip anything in your G-Zone, and then you reveal a number of cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of face-up cards in your G-Zone plus 2, so even if you first tried this, you still reveal 3. Call all the revealed normal units to rearguard circle, and add all the trigger units revealed to your hand, and shuffle your deck. Then activate the effect of all revealed triggers. What is cool about this is that if you find an OT from among these, you can activate it and it stays in your hand, I'm pretty sure, which is pretty cool. So I think the additional effect only activates when you drive check, so it's very specific on drive checking, and this is not a drive check, so you get to put the 100 mil on something and keep the 50k shield in hand, which is pretty sick. But otherwise, this card is just a cool setup stride. Like, I think it's a cool first stride because you get 2+. It's a cool late game stride when you're out of resources because it doesn't cost CB. You get to literally just call out a bunch of stuff. Just be careful not to deck out because it will add everything. So if you're on like GB8, it's like you're basically getting out like 10 cards. So be a little bit careful about that, but otherwise, like, this card is really good. Like, it's nothing that OTT doesn't already do. Like, they have a stride that can literally stack OT on top of deck. They have Ichi Tom as a combo. Like, OTT already has a lot of things that they've got in their arsenal, so I think this stride is just like a nice kind of like extra slot into your choices, and it's a good first stride too. And then we have Builder of Yaigaki Octagonal Magus. So this says, when put on Guardian Circle, cast 1 and declare 2 numbers from grades 0 to 3 and reveal the top card of your deck. If the revealed card is a grade you declared, add the card to your hand, and if you add it, it gets plus 15k shield until end of battle. So it's pretty cool. I guess you have ways to check top deck with some G-Guards, and I guess you can use certain OTT decks to know what is at the top of your deck before passing turn, but it's definitely a little bit more setup reliant, and I don't think this is as great as some of the other OTT G-Guards, so I'm personally a fan of it. I don't think it's necessarily great in CB1 for like reveal top, draw 1 essentially, and then get like 30k shield. Just seems not really in line with how strong these other G-Guards have been, so this one's a little bit on the meh side for me. It's cool, but OTT's support in general, like the stride is great, but the G-Guard is a little bit like, it's fine. Then Commander Jaime revealed some Aquaforce strides as well as the G-Guard, so this was revealed right when I reached BSF Antwerp, so it was pretty cool. The stride is Ferragus Dragon, and I know that Jaime's already put out a bunch of content about this card, like deck profiles and stuff, so pretty impressive, go check it out. This stride is interesting, a lot of discussion has been had about it. So first effect is end of the battle that he attacked, you can almost 1 and flip anything in G-Zone face up to get an Axel, which is nice, and then you choose the same number of your rearguards as the number of face-up cards in your G-Zone and stand them, and then choose up to one of your rearguards and move it to an Axel circle, and it gets plus 10k until end of turn. Now, this stride is pretty cool because, you know, a lot of the strides in Aquaforce have this kind of paradigm of you either have to commit everything in order to, like, you know, get a bunch of draws or a bunch of whatever, or you have to commit everything to get a bunch of restands and pressure, whereas with this guy, you can just just do the minimum. You can do the minimum, get the extra Axel. Of course, in the Narakami matchup, this will be very scary now. But you just get yourself an Axel, you can just restand like a rear or two, and then, you know, basically in the first stride case, it's going to be just one, and then just move it to the Axel and swing. It's just like the freaking Yvette in Pale Moon, basically. And I think it's pretty cool, like just having an Yvette in Aquaforce is quite nice. And it also enables a lot of funny like D+ decks as well, so you can play Zorga Premium with this and just like, you know, just kind of mess around with it, right? You can have a 4th attack in Zorga, it's crazy. People already talked about Flagberg in Premium, where you can also, you know, just have like this stride to go into to get Axel circles in a non-Axel deck, and then kind of like do combos on Flagberg later on. So it's pretty cool. I think the stride is pretty, like, it's fine. I would probably put it as like a 7 or 8 out of 10, I think, in terms of like the power level. Then the G guard is Dianera. So her effect is when you guard with her, you cast 1 and do the following. If it's the first battle that you guard with her, you give your Vanguard plus 5k for the whole turn, and if it's the 4th battle or more that you guard with her, then she has a plus 20k shield, so she's a 35k shield. I like the first battle effect a lot because it's basically like a Zeal, and I think like these Zeal effects are always nice. That's why I like Zeal G-Guard in DP as well, because I can tank Nightmare Dolls, right? Like the plus 5k in the Nightmare Doll matchup these days is really huge, and in an Axel deck it won't be as huge, I guess, because you're only going to 17 instead of going to 18 and shutting down like, you know, like Alice on Axel 2 numbers in that sense. But she's still cool. Her art is also very nice, so I like it. I like it. Then on the Monday after BSF Antwerp, we woke up to the Spike Brothers reveal and then talked about it on the breakfast, you know, breakfast table. So this card is like, people have been calling it Katrina 2.0, and it kind of feels like it. So Outlawed King Gary Gavel. This guy has 2 good skills. When your rearguard attacks, it gets plus 10k until the end of battle, but at the end of the battle, it goes to the bottom of the decks. Typical Spike Brothers, like, that's honestly what you want from it, so it's fine. But then, when it attacks itself, you can Soul Blast 1, not even Counter Blast, by the way, like, ooh, heavy cost of a Soul Blast 1. Search your deck for up to 2 grade 2 or lower units, call them to empty rearguard circles, shuffle your deck, and then all of your rearguards get boosted until end of turn. Yeah, this is very free, and Spike's already pretty good in Premium because of Rising Nova, and Rising Nova being able to do like, you know, Rising Greedon together with Dudley Emperor and like all that kind of stuff, and you can copy like Bull Spike and have the pressure, and like there's so many things you can do with Spikes in Premium. This card just made things even more crazy. Like, this card is nuts. Soul Blast 1 for that is so good. Like, you get to extend your attacks, you get to call even more extenders, and just do so many freaking combos. Like, it's actually insane. I'm not a Spikes expert, so I can't necessarily like go crazy about it. I think Living Proof made a video about this card already, so you can go check that out as well for more in-depth thoughts. But I can see, like, the thing is, I think Spikes will be a menace in this meta, but I don't think many people will play them. It was the same with Hellhard 8. Like, Hellhard 8 was a very feared deck, but not that many people played it. And I think Hellhard 8, as weird as it sounds, feels like it's kind of phasing out. Like, there's just like so many other like faster decks or like better decks in Premium that don't really let Spikes like set up to GP8 as easily, and I think this gives like Spikes a huge breath of fresh air, like especially after Rising Greedon. I think this is a cool addition to just the package that Spikes have in general. Then we have a very pretty G-Guard in the Dowager Empress Vilanese Evita. So when you guard with her, you can count +1 and look at choose 3 normal units from your drop zone, and then this unit gets their combined shield until end of battle, which is pretty good already. And if you chose 1 or more grade 3 units, you draw 1 and then put all the chosen cards in the bottom of your deck in any order. I like this. It's not like a huge high power, I mean, it can be a huge high power G-Guard depending on what you choose, but if you choose a grade 3, you get to draw and then you recycle everything. So the recycle is really nice for when you like just get out your combo pieces, or you have to ride a combo piece, you want to Soul Blast it for the stride cost, for example, and you want to put it back next turn. And I think CB1 is a pretty fair cost for this too. Like, Spikes can definitely afford it, in my opinion, to get that kind of recycle going as well. And the fact that it kind of compensates for you discarding the heal by drawing 1 if you put back a grade 3 is also pretty good. So don't forget that you have to choose normal units, so you cannot choose your grade 3 heal guardian. It has to be a normal unit, so that is out of the question, but it's still a really good G-Guard. I think this G-Guard is pretty nice, and I'm happy it's not a, you know, PG G-Guard as well. Then Mr. Vanguard Insider revealed the Gear Chronicle support on his channel as well, and I was personally quite happy about this. I had just returned, not received from Antwerp as I saw this, and so the stride is Highbrow Steam Shlishma Balls, by the way. And some people were kind of disappointed with her effect, but I saw the art and I was like, yes, Steam Maidens, this looks cool. So she has 2 effects. effect. Once per turn, Vanguard Circle, when she attacks, you bind a front row rear and turn a card from your G zone face up to choose 2 cards from your bind zone, call them to rears, and all the front row units get plus 10k power. This skill is already really nice in things like, of course, Team Maidens themselves, but also in Time Leap. In Time Leap, you know, if you're playing Time Leaps with the recent stuff that's come out, so you know, you get stuff stuck in the bind zone, so you can call it out, everything gets plus 10, and you can still do Time Leap combos. Just keep in mind that if you, for example, like call out a History Maker plus something else, and then you use History Maker to Time Leap that something else, the new unit call will not get that plus 10k, so it's only for the units there at the time. But the first skill already is really nice. Like, it's a good first stride in Time Leap in my opinion, and like that's already very cool. Plus Team Maidens can actually play in premium. Her second effect is okay. I'm honestly not super huge on it. G zone, at the end of the battle, your grade 3 rearguard attacked if she's face up, soul boss 1 and bind that unit to call her. So that effect kind of sets up the first effect in a way, but you can also turn her face up from the first effect too. And basically in Steam Maidens, this is like just another attack. So you swing with a grade 3 Steam Maiden, and then her effect, so basically you go from grade 0, 1, 2, 3 with the actual, like, you know, the Steam Maiden grade 3 itself, and then you can use her effect to bind the grade 3 Steam Maiden, the Elul for example, and then call this out and then just swing with it. So it's like, yeah, you got a 15 or 25 if on a force marker, so it's like cool, but did this really matter? Like, did this 25k swing really matter? Like, it's so easily guardable that I don't think it like, it's a cool extendo. Like, it's just extender in my opinion. It's not as good as Shibaraku Victor, but I mean, it's still a good card. I think it's like, again, it's like a 7 out of 10, I think, somewhere on my scale, and I think there's potential for Steam Maidens in the future. We might get more V Clan Collection support for them, so definitely eyes peeled for that. But I like the art, I like the effect, it's cool for Time Leap, so first effect especially is pretty nice. And then we got a new G-Guard as well, which is Interdimensional Dragon History Vision Dragon, so History Maker evolving perhaps. When you guard with it, you can discard 1 or more cards with the sum of their grades being 3 or greater from your hand. That's interesting. And this unit gets plus 20k shield into that battle, so essentially discard 2 for 35k shield is a start. I mean, you basically, if you discard a grade 3, you got no shield into a lot of shield, so that's pretty good. And if you discarded cards with the sum of their grades being 6 or greater for this cost, so if you discarded like 2 grade 3s for example, you can kill almost 1 and choose one of your units and it cannot be hit until in that battle. So normally I would be upset here, be like, ah, damn it, another Linka counter. But if you're losing 3 cards from hand just to PG, it's like you basically PG'd. Like you lost more cards than you would have PGing. So I don't really mind. Like, feel free to discard 2 grade 3s plus your heal guard. Like, I mean, that's fine for me. It is a fine card, but I think, like, you know, compared to how good G guards are already in Gear Chronicle, feels like it's a little bit overcosted. That's kind of my only issue with it. So the gear support this time around, I was hoping for like ZTBs or like more Time Leap support, and it's good, it's fine, but not exactly what I was looking for. Then we had Royal Paladin, so this was on the 12th of April. Royals are interesting. It feels like Salome support, I suppose. So Holy Knight of Exalted Eulogia says, when he attacks, you can count +1 and turn any unit face up, and then draw a number of cards equal to the number of your rear guards, and call the same number drawn to rear guard circles. Then if you have 5 or more rear guards, get a force. So the force is cool, but you really have to like overcall everything, I think, or like you can, you know, you basically have to force that extra call out, right? So I think it's, I don't know, you probably don't care about the force as much because it's just, it feels like a minus. But otherwise in Salome, this is kind of nice, you know, in being like to trigger your Ashleys and like your, like all the Jewel Knight pieces of being overcalled. But in every other Royal Paladin deck, this just feels weird. Like, this feels unnecessary. You know, I would rather go into Crystal Luster over this in every instance, because even in Salome, like, I'd rather go into Crystal Luster to copy Salome's effect and have the extra drive and power compared to this, you know. So as someone that also plays Royals in premium, I'm not so huge on it, not gonna lie. It's really could be better, could be better. The G guard is kind of the same as well. So Heavenly Sacred Staff Morges, when you guard with it, choose one of your grade 2 units, and in this unit, until end of turn, it gets shield plus 10k. And so it's not the G guard that gets shield, it's the grade 2 that gets shield, and that grade 2 gets the effect. When this unit intercepts, count +1, soul +1, and then choose one of your units, and it cannot be hit until the end of that battle. So, like, what? Like, how is this? So you want me to, let's say, my opponent's Vanguard swings, and then I G-guard this, give my grade 2 that effect, so I've already discarded grade 3, and then I count +1, soul +1 to lose my intercept, you know, to commit another card basically to the board for a PG effect. So, okay, it's not super bad, but like, what if I want to, like, so, like in any other instance, it's like, okay, I could guard a 15k by G-guarding this, and then giving my grade 2 the effect, but then my opponent just attacks into the grade 2, so I can't even, like, activate the PG effect, and it's like, why don't you gain the shield and then give the PG effect to the rear when it intercepts? Like, we could have worded this a bit better. So, like, yeah, it's generic, it's cool, but, like, you really have to work hard for that intercept effect, unless you literally do it in the same battle as you committed this, which feels kind of bad, because then you're like, well, I have to, you know, commit an extra card for that PG on top of the G guard. So it's like, yeah, sure, other clans also have to do that, but it's like, feels like it could have been a bit better. And I just wish she gained the shield instead of that grade 2. Like, why is it the grade 2 gaining the shield? Because it's just, I don't know. You theoretically can go, like, guard with this and then give the shield to your grade 2 and then intercept with it, and then it's like, okay, cool, you got a 30k shield, you know, from G-guarding, excellent. But I've had to commit an extra card, and I don't know, it just feels like it could have been a bit better, you know? And like the fact that you have to have a grade 2 in the first place feels bad for like decks like MLB that usually eat up their grade 2s, right? Or like Salome that sometimes doesn't pass on grade 2s on the board. Like usually she does, but still, it's such a weird requirement. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of this one, to be honest. And then they decided to, you know, go like, hey, Mega Colony is like the best clan right now in Premium, like one of the best, you know, counters so many decks, like counters everything that Superior calls and stuff like that. Kaguru Stride is amazing. Basically a floodgate doesn't let you play the game. And they went and released Poison Fumes Mutant DD Malignantes, which just makes Kaguru even better. So this guy has an effect, Vanguard Circle and G-Zone, but if this unit is on Vanguard Circle, the cost of this card can be paid by turning a G unit face up. So if he's on the Vanguard Circle, you get to just flip anything face up, but if he's in the G zone, he has the effect, if he's face up in the G zone that is, counterblast 1 and put one of your rears into the soul, choose an opponent's standing rear guard, retire it, and then if a card was retired, you draw 1, countercharge 1, and if a card was not retired, choose one of your opponent's vanguards and it gets power minus 10k until end of turn. So you go into Ghidorah, paralyze everything, you then use this guy's effect by just counterblasting 1, putting a rear into the soul, and then going like, oh, you don't have anything to retire? Well, too bad. I guess you're going to be on 3 or 2. So not only are they getting pummeled by a bunch of attacks thanks to like Intrude Scissors, you're also having to deal with minus power. And if they have 2 of this guy face up, then great, fantastic. They can CB2, put 2 rears into soul to make you go into negative. Just the fact that you can go into Ghidorah first stride and then flip this and use it immediately is just like, you know, you can not give them 2 CB and then they can't do it, but it just makes Ghidorah even better. So just kind of like, that deck is already really, really good, so it's kind of alarming that they would make it even better. So I'm a little bit scared for the future, and people are expecting Ghidorah to get banned, but I don't know, they might wait until BCS season for this, because this doesn't release until after BSF, basically, for English, so I don't know. And then the problem is, like, if you get rid of Ghidorah, this card doesn't really do much on its own, like, it's neither does Mega Colony in general, so I don't know, it's a little bit alarming. Then there's a G-Guard, Restraining Mutant DD Crewable. When you guard with it, Soul Blast 1, amazing, and it gets plus 30k shield, excellent. And your opponent can choose any number of the rear guards and rest them, and if for each unit rest by this effect, he loses 10k shield. So he starts out with a 45k shield and tells your opponent, hey, you want to lose some battles? If you don't, this stays at 45. So it's kind of like the Nubatama G-Guard that basically asks you to discard, and if you don't, it's like super huge shield. But it feels like it's even better because you literally disrupt the battle phase. You disrupt the battle phase for the sake of this, and that's just like, damn, that is, that's pretty strong. So Mega Colony just got amazing cards. Like, they just got straight up amazing cards from this set, and that's to be celebrated, right? It's to be celebrated. And then the 13th day of April approached, and we received Tachikaze cards, which include a dinosaur holding a handgun, which looks, you know, a little bit comical. But here is, of course, Mr. Bombing Giant Gigantosaurus. He should be Blicky possessing Giant Gigantosaurus, to be honest. So he has Engorge, as they do. You know, all these freaking Tachikaze cards and they're Engorged, just back at it again. When this unit becomes Engorged, counterblast 1 and flip any unit face up, and then choose the same number of your rear guards as the number of units retired for his Engorge, and they get plus 10k, and the effect, once per turn, at the end of the battle that this rear guard attacked, Soul Blast 1, stand it. Now, I don't play Tachikaze in Premium, and I don't really know Tachikaze in Premium that well, but I don't think I'm mistaken in thinking this card is pretty nuts, right? Like, you can just farm a bunch of Axels throughout the game, and then you basically just go into this guy and give a bunch of rears free restand. Like, hello? Sweeper, big power restand also, like epic, amazing. So I don't know, it's big power already just from his effect, and you can, you know, obviously when you engorge, you're losing some rears, but also replacing them because that's how Tachikaze works. So it just seems nuts. Like, this card seems really good. Like, I don't know Tachi in Premium that well, but just from like theory, just from reading it, it seems like it has a lot of potential. They also got a G-Guard, which says when you guard with it, retire any number of your rear guards, and then for each rear guard retired this way, gets plus 10k shield, and then for each unit with an arm gauge retired this way, you draw a card. So it's a nice way to kind of, you know, give you a reason to retire stuff with arm gauges, because you actually get to kind of like get cards back into your hand. So like if you set up a big board and then you want to just like make the cards back into your hand to guard this turn, you can just choose a bunch of your engorge, like choose a bunch of your rear guards with equip gauges, and then just replenish your hand to guard the rest of the attacks and then make plays next turn. And let's not talk about the fact that this will be like such a huge amount of shield that you basically PG with this. And then our boy TIE Fighter revealed the new Narakami cards, and sorry, not Narakami cards, Nova Grappler cards. So yeah, this was a big surprise for everyone, but the Fighting Emperor Dragon Merciless Dragon, another dragon, is a Nova Grappler. So of course, having seen God Hand in the past is not the biggest surprise, but he looks sick, he looks like Vermilion, but he's a Nova Grappler card, so anyone's welcome in the ring, I suppose. This guy says, when your rear guard stands by a card's ability, you can Calmas 1 and discard 2, stand him, and if it's in your main phase, you attack your opponent's Vanguard with him. And at the end of the battle that he attacked on Vanguard Circle, he loses a drive. I already saw a tweet that was like, Nova Grappler players, when they realize that there is an entire phase in the turn where you can attack without losing drives, you know, something like that, or having to discard cards or something like that. But this card, honestly, in the current meta we're in, is pretty useful. Like, you can go into this on a, you know, when you got Gridor, and you can stride him as a rest because of Gridora's effect, and just restand any of your rears and pay the cost to stand him, and he swings with his three drives in main phase. So for that, I think it's kind of cool. You know, of course, you can do a bunch of multi-attacks. People have already been showing this off in Victor, where you can use like Jero Hawk and like, you know, the whole like support package in Victor, and you know, all the other like good extreme battlers in order to just like restand your stuff, keep restanding your Vanguard. But feels like the other Nova strides already kind of do this, and that's kind of the problem, is that Nova's G-Zone is already amazing. They have Vanguard restanders, super big drive checks, full board restand plus Vanguard restand. Like, they just have so many win cons in the G-Zone, putting like so many good strides that they didn't really need something like that crazy. And this is just a cool kind of card to support stuff like Beast Deities in Premium, which I think have some potential after this card, and also just being good Victor support too. The G-Guard is beautiful. Like, this art is amazing. Meteor Kaiser Stiff-Kneed. This is the kind of art I need an overdress, by the way. Please come through. When you guard with him, so it's an interesting cost. You can count us 1 or more, so you have to do at least 1. It cannot be 0. And he gets plus 5k shield at the end of the battle for each face down card in your damage zone. So if you pay 1 CB, but you had 4 CB face down already beforehand, he gets plus 25. So it's a 40k shield, which is quite a lot. And if you paid CB 2 or more for this cost, you draw a card. And if you paid CB 3 or more, you draw another card. So, you know, G-Guarding to draw 2 is pretty good if you need that kind of like comeback to survive the turn. But generally speaking, like, you'd have to combine this with the flipping G-Guard from like many not festival collections, fighters collections long ago, that basically countercharges 1 every time you guard an attack successfully. And then with that, it's like, yeah, you'll get your CB back and you can draw a bunch of cards and it's cool. But at the same time, it feels like you're overdoing it with a CB with this card. So I don't know. I feel potential, but I don't feel like it's actually like that crazy. So I probably play this like a one-of just for those like sticky situations where you need that extra draw, or like you need to like CB a bunch just for like that big shield and then draw cards to survive. So I think it's like it finds space as a one-of, but Nova already had good G-Guards too. And then we had Gold's Golden Knight of Prosperity Idvarius. Has 2 skills. First is all rear-guards that were replaced by card ability get plus 5k, which is very generic, and Gold Paladin-y, which I like. And when it attacks, you can plus 1 and put all of your resting rear-guards to the bottom of your deck in any order to choose 2 units from your hand, call them to rear, and if you put 4 more rear-guards on the bottom of your deck with this effect, then this unit stands at the end of the battle and gets drive -2. So I'm not a big fan of this card. It feels like you minus a bit too much. Like, why do you minus so much just for this effect? Like, I think the last, like the 2020 Prem Cole Stride for Gold's like the really cool knight looking dude that people use in Gurgrit, like I think it was a break even if I'm not mistaken, where this card literally goes, you have to put all resting rears back to bottom and you have to put 4. You have to put 4 for the restand, right? So you put 4 back and you have to call 2 cards from hand for the cost as well, you know, to continue the effect, and you lose 2 drives. So you lose 6 cards, basically, from field and hand combined. And of course, you get to attack still with, I mean, they come back to the field, but still you lost 2 hand. So let's just say -4. But then, you know, you drive check 3 times, and then you drive check once for the last one, but you still lost 2 cards in the long run, like, because 6 and then the 4 drive checks still put you down to 2. So yes, the Vanguard restand pressure is cool. I don't think golds have a restanding Vanguard, so if you need that, then yeah, that'll win you the game, I guess. But I feel like golds always had the advantage of like the huge Axel generation you had with like Percivals and stuff, and then being able to flood it, reset that board, and go crazy with it. Whereas now it's like, yeah, you can recycle a bunch of stuff and put it to the bottom of the deck, and then like call 2, I guess, and resolve Percival if you haven't already, and things like that, and like make more superior calls like Sagamore and whatnot. But it just feels a little overcosted. Like, you really have to be far ahead, I think, in golds for this to be super worth it. So it's fine. It's like, again, it's probably gonna be like a one-of, but not necessarily what I think golds would have wanted. And then the G-Guard is Golden Dragon, Sanctified Dragon, another Dragon. When you guard with it, Soul Blast 1 and look at the top 2 cards of your deck and choose up to 2 units from among them, call them to Guardian Circle and discard the rest. And if you called at least 1 grade 1 or greater unit, draw a card. So if you called something that doesn't have a chunky shield like a trigger, you get to get a card out of it. So that means you can still guard with that. And I think this G-Guard honestly is really nice. Like, Soul Blast 1, just do like 15k shield plus gotcha shield, which is cool. Like, if you called a grade 3, you get a draw out of it. So keep in mind, if you have a non-unit on top, it's going to get discarded. So that's like the only instance where that would happen. So maybe if you're playing like Bastion Premium, that might happen, I guess, if you're playing orders. So I like this G-Guard. I think it's just nice. It's generally just nice. And then they showed the Grand Blue Stride, and I really wish that Solemn was the one revealing this, because I would have loved to hear his like immediate take on it, plus like, you know, reactions, because this card is nuts. Pirate King of Everlasting Darkness, Bartholomew. Beautiful name. When he attacks, count +1 and choose up to 3 cards from your drop zone with different names and call them to rearguard circles. Those units get +5k until end of turn. And then continuous, if your drop zone has 30 or more cards, so if you've been navigating extra hard throughout the drop zone, when your opponent would call to Guardian Circle from hand, they must call 3 or more at the same time. Yeah. So if you know, attack with a Skull Dragon and then use some effects to make multiple attacks in the battle phase, this is gonna be pretty good, because you basically go Skull Dragon big number because of 30k drop, you know, because of the 30 drop zone being plus 60k to the Skull Dragon, and then they have to guard with 3 cards, and you know, it's PG and 2 more cards. Your opponent's basically dying, they don't have anything in hand, and then you chain that into another multi-attack, and then you just keep on going. Or you swing with Skull Dragons, you know, in the main phase you attack with this guy, and then you basically call a Skull Dragon and a Beatrice, and the Beatrice calls a Skull Dragon, and whoa, different names, so crazy. Basically, you can do a lot of things with this Stride, and it's insane pressure. It's like, I've heard people can like literally do like first Stride win with this card because of how strong it is. Only downside is, of course, still in the, you know, Order Colony matchup, Ghidorah still kind of checks you. You don't really have any plays, so still unfortunate. Still calls from drop, and of course it is Grand Blue. But outside of the Order Colony matchup, like, this just feels really good. Good card. Amazing Stride. And their G-Guard is Phantom Princess of Moonlight Chorus Oriana. So Oriana Grande, now in Grand Blue. When put on Guardian Circle, you can cast 1, and the attacking unit gets critical -1 for every 10 cards in your drop. Yeah, I mean, it explains itself. It's literally CB1 PG in this sense. Like, it's, you just give them -2 crit probably from the time you use this. You literally don't need to PG certain attacks because of this. Like, unless your opponent flips like Brant OT or something and then tries to put their crit back into normal, like, sheesh, this is really good. Really, really good. Keep in mind the minus crit is during that battle only, though, so it's not for the turn in case of like the cross and stuff that obviously will keep restanding. And then finally, 2 last clans. This video's been pretty long, but again, I've invited you guys to just listen in the background. We had Kaguru as well as Bermuda Triangle, thanks to Outer Orange. So the Kaguru Stride is Divine Dragon Knight Barakat. I like the name very much. When it attacks, you can flip anything in your G-Zone face up, and if your opponent has 3 or more open rearguard circles, then this unit gets power plus 10k, drive +1, crit +1, and if your opponent has 5 or more open rears, then all your rearguards get power plus 10k. So in first, like, you know, in the first impression, it feels like this card doesn't do much, right? It's like you stride into it and you have a 38 with a crit and the force 2 maybe on it, then 4 drives. Like, it's cool, sick. Like, as a first stride, that's pretty good. Obviously, your other strides can't do as much, but you also have Dumjid Valor, which is a really good stride that you could have used. And it's like, all your rears getting power is not necessarily like amazing in Kagura when the main deck being played is the cross, and it's like, doesn't really care about its rears. It's not like they're restanding. So I guess it's like a fine card to just like have as a one-of to go into as like a first stride, just in case you need a 0 damage play, because it really is like flip, that's it. all you need to do is flip and you have the effect live. Like, that's it. All you needed to do is like have your opponent's board be empty, but they might have kept it a little bit empty because of fear of Kagero doing Kagero stuff, or if they didn't, then you have ways to retire stuff anyway, right? So I think the Stride is decent. Again, it's like a 6 or 7 out of 10. It's all right. And the G-Guard is a Blaze Dragon Dancer Salima, or Salima Balls. She has an interesting effect that says the amount of cards needed to be discarded for this cost is reduced by 1 for each open rearguard circle your opponent has. When you put it on Guardian Circle, you soul blast 1 and discard 4 and choose one of your units, and it cannot be hit until end of battle. Stop with the freaking cannot be hits, please. My Linka cannot take any more than this. I feel like half the clans at this point cannot be hit. Please stop. But so obviously this card is like, it's interesting. It's Soul Blast 1, discard 4. And so if your opponent commits a full board, obviously it's like, how did you get rid of that during your opponent's turn outside of like Denial Griffin going before this, right? So I feel like it's meant to be played against the opponent's Vanguard for the most part, and against, you know, opponents that like clear their own board, or things like, you know, like decks that just like soul in their stuff, or, you know, just in general don't play with a big board. The nice thing in Axel matchups is that if they have like random empty Axel circles, this will also discount the cost because it just looks at how many open there are in total, doesn't look at like the total amount of circles in general. So like if you do get to play it for 0 discard and Soul Blast 1 for a PG effect, that is really good. Like, that is insane. So I think the G-Guard is pretty good. Like, it's just that steady defense that Kagero, I think, could have used outside of just like shutting down rears that it can do with Denial Griffin. And finally, we had Orange's reveal for Bermuda Triangle, which were insane. I think both cards are really, really good, and Bermuda is going to be eating well after this premium collection. So we have Radiant Ocean Heltrauda. I'm not sure how to pronounce this one. But she says when she attacks, you can discard 3 from your hand. So on attack, discard 3. This is pre-drive checks. Return all the cards in your circles other than Vanguard Circle to your hand, which means it bounces locked circles. And then choose 2 cards, up to two cards from your hand, and call them to rearguard circles. At the end of the battle, so again, you've called 2. So you've bounced everything, you've called 2. That's already 2 new attacks you've made. End of the battle, you can Cannon Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, and then put her into the G-Zone face up, and then choose your Vanguard and stand it. This skill opens up so many options. Like, the discard 3 before the drive checks is a little bit heavy, but you get it back from drive checking. It's basically next stage. But then being able to not only make 2 new attacks on your rears on top of force markers and whatnot, but being able to like restand your Vanguard means that like so many V+ decks can now do so many things. Like Reindeer can go into more restanding grade 4 Vanguards off of her effect. The Prism deck can also work in premium pretty well now because you can just go there, swing, use effect. You can play Lorna in premium because you can just ride into Lorna, swing, get guard restrict and crit, and, you know, flip your freaking songs and do stuff with songs. This card is so generic for Bermuda Triangle. Like, you can play her in Ange. Like, the one V deck I have in the for Bermuda is Ange. You can just play Ange with this. Like, it's so flexible, so many things you can do with it, so many combos, and like I cannot wait to see what Bermuda Triangle players come up with this card because it's just open to so many possibilities. And honestly, it feels like one of the best strides so far. Like, I've heard people already saying like you can use Revere to ride up on your opponent and then stride this while your opponent's on like grade 2 and then make like 11 attacks or something, like some crazy stuff like that. And it's like you can still use Revere. Like, oof. There's a lot to be unpacked with this card, and I cannot wait to see what kind of things people come up with. And finally, we had this beautiful G-Guard, which is Diva of Salvation Lucrece, and she says when you guard with her, Cannon Blast 1 and return a normal unit from your rearguard circle to your hand, and perform the following according to the grade of the card returned to hand for the cost. If it was a 2 or less that you returned, then she gets plus 15k shield, so it's a 30k shield, which is good. So if it's 2 or less, like you returned a 10k shield, 5k shield basically, or crit or trigger, that's also fine. Sorry, cannot be a trigger, has to be a normal unit. Sorry, just check the cost. But if you returned a grade 3 back to your hand, so basically set up another marker for yourself next turn or Persona Ride, then you give your Vanguard plus 5k until end of turn. So it's a Zeal effect in a Force Clan, which means you are dancing around Alice very well. I honestly wonder if Nightmare Dolls will even be that relevant after this freaking premium collection, because there's so many amazing strides in here that might just be able to contest Nightmare Dolls pretty well. That being said, I'm pretty sure they'll still be chilling. They're still going to be good. We haven't seen the Pale Moon support yet, so that's going to open up a huge can of worms for sure. So yeah, Bermuda cards are amazing. Like, the Bermuda cards are both amazing. I saw these while chilling with my friends in the city this day, and I was just reading them and I was like, wow. those are some good cards. And so with that, that is going to be it for this long overview of all the P clan collection reveals so far. I will do another video once we've known all of them to go over the last, I think, 7 clans that we're missing here. So the grand majority have been revealed. It's also really cool that content creators have been able to do reveals because, you know, we basically 6 clans for content creators means that we have a quarter of all clans being revealed by YouTubers, by foreign people in English, which is also very sick. And so I'm really excited. I get to play with this set pretty early on in Japanese, so I'm going to be very hyped for that. If you're wondering why I said that statement, you're going to find out very soon. So I'm hyped. I'm hyped. This set is cool. Cards are amazing. Very few like mid cards. Most cards add a lot to the clans. Add like the G cards are all amazing. These are the first G cards we've had in 4 years, and I'm just so hyped for it. So yeah, good set. Really hyped so far. I can't wait to play more and more premium. I'm really enjoying premium right now, so you guys will see my Dimension Police deck profile as well for premium, and like pre to this set. But if you want to get your hands on some premium, you know, get testing or just playing on CFA, it'll give you some good ideas too. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel as we're getting closer and closer to 50k, and I really need you guys' support. If you want to give any other extra support to the channel, you can consider becoming a YouTube channel member or subscribing on Twitch to really add more extra to making this channel even better. And then there's a bunch of socials in the description, including my Discord, Twitter, etc. So make sure you check those out as well. But on that note, guys, that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.